Welcome back to Garage Story. So we are ready for part 2 on the Husqvarna Z246. In part 1, we verified that this engine does actually run when we disconnect a whole bunch of stuff. Woohoo! So now we want to get it into a more runnable state. So I think the first thing I'm going to tackle is the electrical system. I was arcing the solenoid last time to get it to crank over, so I'm going to try replacing the solenoid to see if that fixes things out. We're pretty sure the solenoid's bad, so let's start by swapping out the solenoid. I think I have another solenoid somewhere. Haha, I think one of these might be a good solenoid. Unfortunately, I'm not sure which one, but we had that Craftsman zero turn that we were swapping out solenoids on, and it turned out that it was actually a loose wire on the ignition switch that was the issue. But in this case, since it's getting power to the solenoid, pretty sure it's the solenoid that's bad. Let's start there and see if we can get this thing to crank over using the key. Okay, so as we recall, the solenoid is under here. You might be able to see it. So basically take this off and then that should walk it down through. We'll need to be a little careful about power. It seems like I have all this hooked up. Let's charge off the battery again. So we should probably disconnect power first so that we don't fry our little fingers. So we got our ground out. Now we just need to get our Allen for that. Probably dumped them all over my mower by accident. Man, that's tight. Wow. Working these against each other. Haha, there we go. So there is our solenoid. So let's just zip those out, swap it around, and put it back in. All right, so I got the solenoid swapped over. I didn't bolt it in yet because I wanted to try it out first. Let's see what the key does. The battery is hooked up again. Turn the key to on, and hour meter pops on. And try my key. Nothing happens. My headlight turns on again like it did last time, and I need to make sure that power is getting to that solenoid. I thought I checked that last time, but I can't remember if I really did. So let's check that right now. Oh no, it's getting power. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that's a bad solenoid. Yeah, this is the one we just took out, so I think this one's bad also, so we'll set that over there. And now we'll try this solenoid. If this one doesn't work also, then we might start wondering if it's really the solenoid that's the issue. Key on, headlight flashed, just like it has been. Still nothing. Man, that is really curious to me. Why is that not working? Are all these solenoids bad? Because if voltage is getting to the solenoid, what's going on? So it should be pretty obvious by now that I am not a know-it-all when it comes to lawnmowers. I'm learning some things and even a lot of things as I go. So I want to try to check and test one of these old solenoids and see if I can make it click, because that's what should be happening, is it clicks. If it clicks, it should be working. So I'm gonna hook it up to some jumper cables, and we'll see if we can get this thing to click. I am gonna possibly fry this poor solenoid. I'm gonna clip it on this side and see if I can just barely touch on the other side, but it may pop. Okay, that solenoid is firing loud and clear to me. Let's check this one. This is the original one. That one there was the first replacement. Okay, so the original is firing loud and clear. It's got to be something on the ground side. Maybe that's the way all these mowers work, and I probably sound silly for not knowing this, but maybe it's the ground side that gets disconnected when your safeties aren't working. So that would make sense. So your key always gives you hot when you turn it to start, but the solenoid has two control parts on here. So that means it's probably not frame grounded. If it was frame grounded, it would probably work. So if I made a jumper wire that went to my negative, or to frame anywhere, to chassis, from one of these terminals and hooked my hot up to the other one, it would probably work. So let's see if we can check that theory out. See if we have some stray wire floating around somewhere here. Alright, so I made a short jumper wire, which is right here, going on one side of this solenoid here, where this wire would have been, and coming to ground where everything else is grounded, which is not the greatest ground, but it is. This is the battery cable, so it comes through here and grounds there. Now I will try it, and I think it's going to have the exact same thing. I don't think it's going to work. We'll find out. Ho ho. It works. I'll tell you why I didn't think it would work. So we have the hot coming into the solenoid and we have the ground going out on the control side. I checked that ground going out and it seemed like it was grounded. So I felt like the wire I was making now would not make any difference. But it is. I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's because my grounds are a little funky. That certainly could be. Or was I missing something? So there's something about that other ground is not working good. So I'm a little perplexed there, but it seems like I've got a somewhat bad ground on my regular circuit wire because it changes when I hit the starter. I think we're gonna have to start chasing wires back and see where it leads us. From what we have here, we should be able to start diagnosing the rest of the mower, maybe get it running, see how good the carb is, the governor and all that, and see if we want to proceed with trying to fix everything. So I think the first thing I want to do is check and see with my bypass wire here for ground to the solenoid, so it'll crank now, right? But what I want to see is if it's getting spark like this. And if it does spark, then I want to see if it'll run. All right. We're getting spark nice and clear there. That means that the engine, in theory, should and could run now. Let's check the fuel status of this thing. That is dry, which is good. Forgot. I need to check and see if the carb solenoid is firing. Doesn't feel like it. So this thing's probably not going to run with that thing not functioning. Let's see if we can get this guard off the back here. Alright, got the guard off real quick and easy. It's just 3 volts. Got this out real quick and easy, and a lot of gas ran out of there. So there's gas in the carburetor and it doesn't smell bad. But this is frozen, just like always. Let's see if we can go free it up on the bench. So got that freed up pretty well. You can see it's out right now. I can push it in and out easily. I turn the key, pops in nice and easy. So now time to throw this back in here and see if this carburetor will get fuel. I don't think this battery has enough juice in it. Let's do a quick check here and see if fuel's coming up to the carburetor. All right. See what she does. She may be too dead now. All right. Get plenty of gas on my floor. So that's working. But I think what we might need to do is get ourselves some carb cleaner to spray in here to get it to fire off, and see if she'll work herself clean. But I may need to jump start it to get enough juice. All right, we got our extracurricular power source hooked up here, right there. And hopefully that's all the power we need. And we've got some flammable fluid right here. So let's spray some stuff in there and try not to get burned. Better than I thought it would. Wow, okay. I think what's going on here, I felt like it revved up too far when I pushed the throttle up, and I know maybe that's something to do with the governor. Someone tell me, is this part of a governor? I'm not used to the fan. Or is that a choke? It's running to the choke side there. So I know the throttle has been messed up here, because normally it would run to this, which would in turn run everything. So I feel like it's not allowed to self-adjust. I may need to run this throttle cable back down here and see how she runs, but oh my goodness, she runs. A little smoky there, but it's been sitting a while, so it's not too unnormal. Let's give ourselves a little space in here and see if we can fire it up and put the seats down and see if it drives. So I think these need to go forward to ride. Seems like everything sort of kind of works. Drive linkage is kind of loose, stiff. Can be stiff and loose at the same time. A little clunky. So I'll probably need to mess with that. Obviously, I do need to work on the wiring system some. When I turn the key off, it's not shutting off because it's not grounding out like it's supposed to. So I'll need to investigate the electrical system further. All right, so we are back at it again. And my hope now is to try to start tracing down the wiring issues. And I forgot, when we had it running a little bit ago, the other day, I still have my coils disconnected. So I definitely have wiring work that I still need to do in order to get everything functioning properly. So I think I'm probably gonna start with looking at the seat safety switch, maybe even trying to rehook it back up. And I'll probably start taking off some of this stuff in here because I don't think I want it, and I kind of need to see what's going on with all that. It obviously looks like these levers here got bent, and then they put a bunch of spacers in here to get this back out at the right distance. So I think we may need to be replacing some parts down in the handlebar assemblies. They're very loose and obviously have been fixed in some fashion. That's what I'm going to be doing. It's probably going to be a lot of time lapse watching me try to figure out what I'm doing. But that's the way it is. How do you learn? By doing. I've taken off these funky metal things here on each side. I'm probably gonna need to replace some parts in there. Got those off, pulled off this, actually I guess it's an outlet box, not a junction box. And I've been messing around with the wiring, figuring it out, and I found a wiring schematic online, so I think I'm gonna print that off. And yes, I could probably just try to reconnect all these wires here, but it's harder to troubleshoot them once they're back connected again, because it's hard to always get a good contact. I kind of want to look up the wiring schematic first before reconnecting everything. Study it a little bit, make sure I understand what's going on, and then try to fix it. Lots of wires. I don't do this a lot, so I'm not the greatest at understanding these things. I mean, they're pretty logical, but sometimes it starts getting a little complicated. It's hard for me to keep up with where I'm at. I think this being cut shouldn't really affect how things run because it shows the seat in the unoccupied position right there. So unoccupied means no one's sitting in it and everything is connected. So when you're not sitting in it, everything should be disconnected, which is effectively what cutting that wire did. So now I'm gonna try testing my blue wire here, the blue one coming out, because it is affected by the levers being in or out. So I'm gonna check that real quick, see if that makes any difference. I'm not really sure what I'm doing. So I feel like this might be my issue. So I follow this wiring diagram. I found my solenoid wires. So when I disconnect and ground out my black white coming away from my solenoid, the mower will work, but it runs to this little thing. So I found this relay, which has the same colored wires going to. It has the purple, the orange, the blue, the black, white, and the white. I wonder if this relay is bad. It has a little bit of a rattle to it when I shake it. Anyway, I may see if I can figure out a way to test this, and I may see if I have another one somewhere else. I found this relay outside on a parts mower, an old zero-turn Cub Cadet. So this is the one off of this Husqvarna. I shake it, it has a rattle. This one doesn't really rattle. They're not physically the same. I'm trying to compare the wiring diagram on the side there. I think functionally they're the same. They have the same plug. The main difference is the one on the Husqvarna says it's a 14 volt, and this one is a 12 volt, which it's a 12 volt system. So I think if this relay is good, I think it'll fix the problems. Let's go ahead and throw this in there and see if that fixes the problem. That would be really great. And that would explain some of the weird electrical stuff if someone didn't realize that a relay was bad. Because a relay, probably not the first thing you think of as being bad in a lawnmower. Oh, okay. I have my solenoid plugged in the way it should be. It's not using the jumper wire. So if the key works here, we may have found the problem. So key on, and will it crank? Yes! Yes, we found it! Woo! So excited. Just like I thought, the seat safety is not the issue. So now, in theory, this thing should be able to run. Let's help it out a little bit. Because when I pulled that solenoid out to clean it again this morning, all the fuel drained out. Woo! Got it! Okay, so that worked there. Now I should be able to hook up these grounds to the coils again. Put these back on here. See if we can start it again. There we go. We fixed the electrical system. So what remains is figuring out the governor linkage. As you could tell, it was running a little bit odd because when you give it more resistance, the engine can't pick up because the governor has been bypassed. And this throttle is running straight to the throttle on the carburetor. So this thing is not doing its job. So what you give it is what it's got. It can't counteract the sudden loads like going full forward or kicking on the PTO. I think that I basically just need to figure out the governor linkage, make sure the governor is working, and then figure out these handlebar linkages and figure out what I want to replace in here to make this more functional again. I think that concludes part 2 on this mower. So we figured out the electrical system. It was just a bad relay. This thing seems like it runs and drives and will be a good candidate for fixing up and selling for this spring. Thanks for watching Garage Story. Stay safe and keep making stories, and we'll catch you on the next one.